I'm Justin.
I'm Travis.
Welcome to Wrestling Junkie.
Alright, this is going to be our SummerSlam 2000 pay-per-view review. We narrowed down a lot of the SummerSlams that we had, and this is the one that we came to. It was probably one of the most interesting ones, maybe not the best one, but it was just a good one to kind of rewatch for me. I know this is your first time watching it. You watched a few matches, but
Yeah.
essentially this is your first time watching it in its whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is, we don't live in Raleigh, but we live near Raleigh, so we thought that was pretty cool. It was at the PNC Arena, now it's known as the Raleigh Entertainment and Sports Arena, at an attendance of 18,000, a buy rate of 570,000. And yeah, without further ado, we could get into the first match. Alright, and our first match, or the first match of the night, is Right to Censor versus Too Cool. So Right to Censor comes out first. They cut a promo and they're basically saying Too Cool needs to like kind of not join them but act like them and fix their lives and stuff like that. And then Too Cool comes out, and specifically Rikishi comes out with two of the Goodfather or the Godfather's girls or prior girls. One of them was named Mandy, and the other one was actually Victoria, who was a future women's champion for the WWE. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And as at one point after they're like doing their intro and they come in, the Goodfather actually comes out and clotheslines both girls, and it was actually kind of crazy, but like nothing surprises me when it comes to the Attitude Era anymore.
Yeah.
But essentially, Right to Censor, they had the advantage the entire match. It looked like they were gonna win like pretty hard, and then they get a hot tag to Scotty. Scotty basically like 1v3s them and just beats all of them. And then at one point he goes for the worm, I believe, on Bull Buchanan, and then he gets a super kick by Stevie Richards, and Stevie Richards pins him, and they win the 6-man tag team match.
Yeah. This match was like a kind of one of like funny matches. It wasn't like the greatest match, obviously. You'll notice this with a lot of the early matches and pretty much throughout the entire night. A lot of if it doesn't have like a big name in it, it's a very short match. So this match and the next match both come in at under 5 minutes. So but yeah, this match to me, I'm gonna give it like a 1 star, I think. Not the greatest, but it was pretty funny, I guess, especially when the Goodfather would clothesline both his former girls. So
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 1 star as well. Not too much really happened. Like you said, it was just kind of like a funny match. It was the starting match, so you can't expect too much from the starting match, and most pay-per-views, I should say. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 star as well.
Yeah. And for our next match, we have X-Pac versus Road Dogg. Now, during this time, this was after DX had split up, so during this time when they would split up and get all like on and off again, they didn't really know what to do with the other members outside of Shawn and Triple H. So they, on the previous SmackDown, they got put into like a handicap match against the Undertaker, and I think Road Dogg kind of like had enough of the match and kind of just walked out on X-Pac, and X-Pac ended up getting like choke slammed and power bombed by the Undertaker, and they ended up losing the match. So that kind of sets up this match. So this match starts off with your average collar elbow tie up. X-Pac starts with a better hand of him. He takes him down and does like a helicopter on top of him. It was kind of like a funny thing, and it's something that you probably won't see very often nowadays. But yeah, this match is kind of a lot of back and forth. At one point, they do like a Road Dogg Irish whips X-Pac off the ropes, and X-Pac jumps over him, but then Road Dogg turns around and boots him out the ring. Kind of an interesting move you don't see too often. But yeah, this match was super, I might say boring, but there wasn't too much going on. But the closing moves, you have X-Pac, he goes for an X Factor, but he misses. And then Road Dogg goes for his pump handle slam. Then X-Pac counters. And like basically this entire portion is just them countering each other's finishers until Road Dogg goes for his pump handle slam, but Road Dogg gets a low blow onto him and hits him with the X Factor, and it would end up winning the belt. But after the match, X-Pac wants to go be friends with him still, and he's like, I hope we can put it past us and there's no bad blood. But then Xbox Road Dogg takes his hand and kicks him and knocks him back down and hits a pump handle slam on him, kind of like saying that he's done with the tag team. But overall, this match was also, like I said, comes in at under 5 minutes, so not too good. I do think it was better than the Right to Censor match, so I'm gonna give like a 2-star, I think. But yeah, mainly just because it was too short and not too much happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree as well. I'm gonna give it 2 stars. DX is one of my favorite tag teams. I love X-Pac. I love Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, New Age Outlaws, period. But yeah, I love DX. I love both of these wrestlers, and the match was pretty good. But yeah, I'm gonna give it 2 stars.
Yeah.
All right, and for our third match, it is Eddie Guerrero and Chyna versus Trish Stratus and Val Venus, and this is for the Intercontinental Championship, where if Eddie or Chyna pins Val Venus or Trish, whoever gets the pin wins the Intercontinental Champion. And it's really like not a whole lot going on. So at one point, Val Venus basically had the advantage the entire time. He was winning convincingly, and then Eddie actually takes Val Venus out as Trish was in the ring, and Eddie gets the tag on Chyna, and so it's Chyna and Trish Stratus in the ring, and at one point Chyna lifts her up like over her head and kind of just throws Trish Stratus around. And Chyna actually does. This was another quick match, by the way. It was only 7 minutes, and a lot of it was like outside the ring fighting, and it wasn't like, because it was Eddie versus Val Venus outside of the ring for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point, Chyna lifts her up and throws her, like literally just throws her across the ring, and it looked like she took a pretty like nasty bump considering it was Trish Stratus, and she doesn't take a lot of bumps really.
No.
But yeah, Chyna gets the pin on Trish and wins, and she becomes the Intercontinental Champion. It wasn't too much really going on this match to really mention, so I mean that was kind of the big moment when Chyna throws her across the ring. Yeah. But yeah, this is Chyna, I believe, her first time winning a champion besides the women's champion. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, this match wasn't my favorite, especially on this card in general. It wasn't like it was really bad. I think for me, I'm gonna give it another 2 stars. Obviously, like you said, when Chyna like does like almost like a power lift, or like a deadlift almost, and just throws Trish Stratus almost across the ring, that was pretty like, not, I'm gonna say cool to see, but it definitely like try to show off like how strong Chyna was, and like she was like able to hang with some of the bigger guys.
Yeah, like I said, like when I say like she lifted her up, she like literally had her like as far as she could lift her into the air. That's how high she had it, and she just kind of throws her across the ring. And yeah, like I mentioned, it was her first time winning a champion besides the women's champion. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. I'm gonna give it 2 stars as well. And yeah, I think now in this pay-per-view is when like things start to pick up, the matches get better. So
next match we have Jerry Lawler versus Taz. With this match, it was kind of, when I first looked at it, I thought it was like, oh, Jerry Lawler. It was kind of random to me. But then after kind of like watching the pay-per-view, kind of doing a little like back research on it, Taz was kind of like in a thug life stage like gimmick where he would kind of like bully people and stuff like that. And one night, I think on Raw, I think would be, he like went against, or he like kind of like pick on like Jim Ross, but Jerry Lawler kind of like stood up for him. Obviously, they're friends on and off camera, I would assume. And yeah, Jerry Lawler was like hit him nice in like the face. Then Taz would kidnap Jerry Lawler, and like he would break glass on his. Oh yeah, on Jim Ross. My bad. He would kidnap Jim Ross, and he like broke Jerry Lawler's car's window onto Jim Ross's face, and it would like, I don't know if it was real or not, but he had like glass in his eye apparently, and he had to get surgery and stuff like that. But yeah, this match was not the greatest. Not too much happened in this match. Jerry Lawler does start the match like pretty like early on, like pretty heavy. He hits like a nice drop kick, does some like diving right hands onto Taz, but then Taz counters it. Taz pretty much gets a lot of the upper hand. Then Taz like throughout this match, Taz like looks at Jim Ross and like taunts him and makes fun of him. at one point Jerry Lawler goes to like attack Taz from the back, but Taz like realizes it and he's quick enough to counter it and put him in the Taz mission, and then he brings him to the ground. But then Jim Ross rather would get like a glass jar and smash on Taz's head, and it would knock him out basically and let Jerry Lawler win the match. But yeah, with this match, the ending was like kind of cool to see. You don't see that very often, where especially just Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross in a match, have like their own segment is kind of like cool to see. And like for Jerry Lawler, he was probably like 50 years old at this time, so he actually looked like pretty solid for that age. But yeah, I think this is another. I'm gonna give it another. I think I'm gonna give it a 1 star. It just wasn't the best, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 star as well. I think like the best thing about this match was all the things kind of leading up to the match, like you said, like the background story with him like kidnapping JR, then he spray paints Jerry Lawler's rental car. Yeah. He smashes the window and it goes in his eye. He has the surgery, like you said, and all that. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 star. I mean, you can't expect too much from a Jerry Lawler and Taz match, I suppose.
Yeah, especially this late in their careers, where they were both like Taz was, I think, would be on his way out of wrestling itself. Obviously, he would have gone to be an announcer for WWE, but yeah, both men were pretty older, but like I said, for their age, it wasn't that bad.
And then the next match is Steve Blackman versus Shane McMahon in a hardcore match where Shane is the hardcore champion, and I think this is like, in my opinion, like the second best match of the night. Not because it had like a lot of like great wrestling in it or anything, but just, I mean, we'll get into it, but the big bump that Shane takes during this match is kind of crazy for a guy like Shane to take. Like, you would expect maybe Steve Blackman to take a bump like this, or like, other people, but for Shane to take it, I thought that was pretty cool for him to like agree to it, and
Yeah, I think this would honestly start Shane's like crazy antics in the WWE. I think this was like his first major like huge bump that he would do. Obviously, like in the not recent years, but a few years ago, he jumped off the Hell in a Cell onto the announcer's table, similar to what Mankind did. But yeah, Shane McMahon would end up being like take crazy bumps, at pay-per-views and stuff like that. But yeah, go into the match for a little bit more if you want.
Yeah. So essentially, Steve Blackman, he's like just beating the hell out of Shane McMahon for like majority of the match. And then at some point, Test and Albert come out, and they like really like put a beat down on Steve Blackman. But I believe he gets the kendo stick, and he literally just starts beating them like pretty bad. It's to the point where like you just don't even see them. I don't know where they went or if they ran backstage. I'm not sure what happened. But Steve Blackman fights them off, and they run away, and they end up on the start of the entrance ramp. And Shane kind of like gets like a little, like, I guess you could say, scared, and he kind of just like goes climbing because he's running away from Steve Blackman. He climbs the scaffolding of the entrance ramp, like to the left side of the entrance ramp, and he goes pretty damn high. Like, I don't know how high, but if I had to guess, I would say 50 feet-ish, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but somewhere around 50 feet, 40 feet maybe. And Steve Blackman he walks up the scaffolding behind him. He's like kind of chasing him down, pulling at him, and he brings his kendo stick with him, and he just starts smacking him with it. And you know what's gonna happen, because Shane's kind of like, as he's getting hit, he's kind of looking down, and he's looking for a spot to land because he's being like really careful. Because this was, if y'all don't know, this was like this was like not too far after the Owen Hart incident where he passes away. So like they were being like a little bit more careful like with things. So you see him kind of like looking down, trying to find his spot to land, and then at some point he hits him and Shane just goes falling down. I'll try to add like a clip or a picture that could like kind of showcase that, but yeah, he takes a nasty bump. I'm sure he landed safely onto whatever it was that was down there, but yeah, he takes a pretty nasty bump, and then Steve Blackman climbs down a little bit, and then he jumps off with the elbow, hits him with the elbow, and he wins the Hardcore Champion.
Yeah, this match I think was the first like really like, it was actually a solid match of the night. I think this is probably Shane's like most iconic moment right now, where he gets hit with a kendo stick and falls back on down all the way to the ground. Like you said, a crazy bump. And it was also cool. I think Steve Blackman, at first he's like climbing down. You're like, oh, he's kind of being like not safe, but like he just climbs down, and then he jumps off, hits him with an elbow, make it kind of cool as well. But yeah, I think with hardcore matches, you can't go too wrong with them, especially with two guys who like kind of know what they're doing in the ring in a sense. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give this match a 3 stars. I think. Not that it was bad at any means. It was obviously really good with some like key moments. But yeah, I think 3's solid for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3 as well. Like you said, not because the match was bad. It wasn't really good either. But there just wasn't like a lot of like wrestling, and it was kind of just a lot of like things that happened throughout the match that like like the big bump from Shane. Testing Albert comes out, and Steve Blackman fights them both off. But essentially, Steve Blackman just beating the hell out of Shane McMahon majority of the match. And like I said before, like for Shane to even take that bump and be willing to do that, I thought that was really cool of him. It did kind of like ruin the moment maybe a little bit as he was like kind of looking down before he like falls. But it just, when you see the picture, or if you've seen the picture, then like that was a pretty far drop. Like I said, maybe 50, maybe 40 feet. It was pretty high up. And then Steve Blackman jumps off, and it was just a pretty cool match. I'm gonna give it 3 stars.
Yeah, another funny moment of that was when Steve Blackman gets like a trash can and puts it on top. And I don't know if you can call them nunchucks because they're not like connected, but like they're like little mini Kinder sticks, I guess you can call them. And he just starts like beating up the trash can when it's on top of Shane's house. I thought that was pretty funny as well. Alright, so for our next match, we have Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This match starts off fast with Benoit attacking Jericho. As soon as he gets in the ring, they keep trading shots until they fall out the ring. The ref splits him up for a split second, but Jericho runs after Benoit, and Benoit elevates him into the outside ring post. Benoit gets him back into the ring, goes for a crossface, but Jericho counters, and he goes for like a crazy like 3-move set where he catapults him into the turnbuckle. They hit a German suplex and goes for a lion salt, but when he goes for the lion salt, Benoit gets his knees up, and Jericho lands on his knees, and then Benoit goes for a crossface, sets it in, and then Benoit gets the first fall of the match. After that, Benoit goes for another crossface to start off, just to try and match quick. But Jericho gets to the bottom rope. Benoit drags him out to the ring and beats him up, throws him to the ring post another time. They get back into the ring, and Benoit just stays dominant for most of this match. But then he goes for a belly to back suplex. But as he does so, Jericho like flips out, and he like kind of rolls Benoit up, and then hits him with puts him in the walls of Jericho. Then time the match up 1-1 in this match. After that, Jericho also stays like on top of him for most of the time. At one point, Benoit like has the upper hand and goes for a diving headbutt. But like Jericho knocks him down, but he like stays on top of the ring post, and Jericho hits like Hurricane Rana off the top rope on Benoit. And then after that, Jericho goes for an Irish whip on Benoit to the ropes, but Benoit counters it, hits a roll up, and then Jericho gets a roll up on Benoit, and then Benoit counters that, and Benoit goes for the roll up. He also holds the rope, so he has extra leverage on him, and then he ends up winning the match. This match was honestly was also another really good match, and probably is like my 3rd favorite match on this card. For me, I think I'm gonna give it a 3-star match. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 star as well. It was like a real like technical match, a lot of reversals, a lot of submissions. They were like basically both trying to tap each other out the entire match, essentially. Then Jericho kind of cheated to win the match by holding the ropes. But yeah, it was a pretty good match. I'm going to give it 3 stars as well. And yeah. So for the next match, it is the TLC match, and it's your classic TLC teams. It's Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardys. And pretty much at the time, like, not too many people really liked Edge and Christian. I think they liked them more with, like, the Brood. They were more known as, like, that tag team more than just Edge and Christian, and so people are kind of getting used to them as like a tag team, and a lot of people just didn't like them because they would always get into these TLC matches with the Dudleys and the Hardys, and they would never take like the bumps that the Hardys and the Dudleys would take, and they were always winning still. So like the Hardys and the Dudleys like messed themselves up fighting each other. They would get these like big spots done, and then Edge and Christian still would win the match, and a lot of people didn't like them at the time, and they were the champions, I should mention. But yeah, so just to get right into one of the like big spots to start the match off, well, not big spots, but one of the good spots to start the match off is Edge gets the what's up headbutt from Devon. If you don't know what that is, that's when Bubba kind of like stands over your head, pulls your legs up, and then Devon does his what's up, jumps off the top rope and headbutts you in the crotch pretty much. And then after that, the Dudleys are kind of like taking control of the match like the entire time in this period, in the beginning period. And they do a 3D through Christian through the table in the middle of the ring. So that kind of takes Edge and Christian out. Like they're both kind of like not seen for a little bit. And it's kind of just the Dudleys and the Hardys kind of going at it. At one point, Jeff does a Hurricane Marana onto Bubba off of the top rope as he's going to do like a leg drop onto Matt, and so that was a pretty cool moment. Then at some point, Edge gets a chair. He like comes out of nowhere, sort of. He gets the chair. He smacks Bubba in the head, and he hit him pretty hard. Like you can kind of tell when a wrestler takes a hit and they're just kind of taking the hit, and they're like, they're like holding their head and they're like, oh, that hurt or whatever, But this one, it really looked like he hurt Bubba, and Bubba like went down for a bit, and once again, you kind of don't see him for a little bit, and the match just kind of goes on without him a little bit. And then after that, this was like a really big spot for Jeff. This is his like big bump that he takes during the match. So he sets up a ladder outside of the ring, and there was already like 2 tables that were like pre-set up on the outside of the ring, like right next to each other. And he gets Bubba, he gets him onto the table, and he gets one of the big ladders, like I mentioned, it's 25, maybe 30 feet, something like that. He gets him onto the table, he climbs the ladder, and he goes for a Swanton Bomb, and he goes for it, but Bubba gets out of the way, and he just hits pretty hard. Like you can only imagine like a 30-foot ladder, and you're jumping down onto 2 tables. Like it's a pretty big spot. And then after that, Bubba goes for the belt, but Edge and Christian push the ladder down. Bubba goes out of the ring from the ladder and takes a big bump through 4 tables on the outside of the ring. So that's Bubba's big bump. Yeah. So you already seen Jeff's like big bump where he goes off of the ladder, does the Swanton Bomb through 2 tables. And then Bubba just kind of doubles it, and he gets pushed off the ladder into 4 tables. So I thought that was like just pretty cool. Like you don't see people go through 4 tables pretty often. Like I don't know if that's ever happened besides that, honestly. It might be the only time. And then after he takes his big bump, Edge and Christian come, and this is going to be their turn now. And they climb, and it looks like they're about to win. But then Lita comes out of nowhere, pushes them off of the ladder, and crotches both of them on the top rope. And yeah, as I mentioned, everybody takes like a big hit this match, and I guess that was kind of theirs. Nothing in comparison to the Hardys and the Dudleys taking. You'll see the Devon hit later. Like he takes a pretty big one towards the end of the match as well. But yeah, Lita pushes him down. Then Devon tips the ladder when Matt goes for the belt, and then he falls through tables on the outside of the ring. So after Edge and Christian get crotched, Matt goes in, he sets up the ladder, now he's going for it, and then Devon tips the ladder, and he falls from the middle of the ring all the way to the outside through another table. So you've already seen like, what's that, like 7, 8, no, it's 8 tables been put together, because Christian took his, Bubba gets sent through 4, Jeff gets sent through 2, and now another one from Matt. And this was Matt's big hit. Like that, it was a pretty nasty fall. Like, you're falling from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring from a ladder, like onto a table at that. So it's just like they're like one-upping each other like this entire time. And Lita kind of goes and like checks on Matt, and then gets speared by Edge. Edge kind of, I'm not really sure what she like hit her head on. I don't know if she did or if she didn't, but It kind of looked like she might have, but she gets speared by Edge, and it could have been like a ladder or a table. You don't really get a good angle. But even Edge, after he speared her, he like checks on her. He's like, you could tell he's like checking on, like asking her, like, are you okay and stuff. And she ended up being fine. And pretty much this is like the big moment of the match, and this is gonna be Devon's big hit that I was talking about. So Devon and Jeff are both climbing the same ladder, and the tag team belts are hanging above them, obviously. Jeff hangs on to one, and Devon hangs on to one, and you're kind of like thinking, like, who's gonna win it? Like, it's gotta be either Jeff or Devon at this point. And then Edge and Christian kind of like kick the ladder down, and the ladder falls over, and both of them are just like left there hanging, and they're kind of like kicking each other, like trying to get each other to fall. So obviously only one of them win the match. But Edge and Christian come in, and they start like hitting them with the ladder, and then Jeff kicks Devon off, and he falls pretty hard. Like I couldn't tell if it was his arm or his shoulder, but pretty much some part of his arm got hurt. Like he fell like really hard right there. He didn't fall the way he was supposed to, I guess. So that leaves Jeff there, and he's like hanging on to it by himself now, trying to get the tag team champions down. And then Edge and Christian get the ladder, and they just start like smacking Jeff with the ladder. He falls. Edge and Christian climb the ladder, and everybody's knocked out at this point. Like everybody took their big bumps, and Edge and Christian won the tag team champion. This match was 18 minutes, and it really didn't even feel like it, like when you're watching it, because it's just so much stuff going on.
Yeah, just back to back to back to back.
Yeah, and like I said, there's like 8-9 tables that they've gone through like the entirety of this match. And yeah, I'm gonna give this match a 4-star for sure. It was really good. Just seeing like the stuff that a lot of these people put their bodies through in this match is pretty crazy. And yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 stars.
Yeah, I think for me, this is probably one of my favorite matches of this three-way rivalry between Edge and Christian and them. I think for me, I'm gonna give this a 5-star match. I really enjoyed this one. Obviously, there was no like real like technical wrestling, but it's a lot of like it kind of reminded me of like almost like a original ECW like match. It was just a lot of big bumps, a lot of tables, ladders, even some chairs were used. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5-star match. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it was really good. One of my favorite matches too. I just didn't want to give it the 5-star probably just because, like you said, it's not like a lot of like technical wrestling. It's just like you're just kind of in wow about like the moments that happen when they're falling through the tables. Jeff gets smacked with the ladder. Devon falls from the bell. Like there's a lot of big moments. So I think the moments is the only thing that kind of like kept the match going for me. It's not like the TLC match where Edge spears Jeff off of the belt. Like that was a pretty cool like wrestling moment. But this one was just kind of like a lot of big bumps, so that's why I gave it the 4-star.
And then to worsen this like streak of 3 good matches in a row from the Steve Blackman match and the Benoit match and the Edge and Christian match, we probably have, I think, outright the worst match on the card. You have Kat and Terry in a thong stink face match. There's not much to say about this match. But I think Kat came out with Al Snow, and Terry came out with Perry Saturn, I believe. Yeah, there wasn't too much to like add into this match. I know at one point, I think it was Kat goes to like do a stink face onto Terry, and Perry Saturn just jumps up and just shoves her, and like he sends her from like one corner to like a little bit past the middle of the ring. I thought that was like kind of funny. But yeah, Terry goes for a stink face, but Terry like kicks her out the way into the ref. Then Al Snow throws her the head to Kat. She hits Terry in the face, knocks her out, drags her to the corner, and then hits a stink face. Now this match came in at 3 minutes, which I'm glad. Honestly, if it would have been quicker, I wouldn't have even minded. I think this is just a 0-star match. I just isn't great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. And this it's just like your classic Attitude Era women's match. Like it seems like every pay-per-view they had to put like 2 women in the match that like they look good, and it just like wows the crowd. And to be fair, the crowd does like kind of eat it up, you know.
Oh yeah.
But yes, I'm happy that women's wrestling is where it's at today.
Oh yeah.
Better than what it is then, because now you have, you know, wrestlers like Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch and Bianca. Like, there's so many like actual really good women wrestling now. And it's so much better than what they used to like kind of portray the women as back in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, the only way you can really get into WWE at that point was if you didn't look good enough to people backstage, you were never gonna be anything. But until like people like Lita and Trish Stratus, and obviously there's more women who would go on to help start like a real like competition in like the women's division. But yeah, this match, like I said, 0 stars, really quick. Thankfully, I wish it had been quicker. Just a staller match between the Edge and Christian match into our next match.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 0 stars as well. All right, and for the second to last match of the night, it is Kane versus Undertaker in a no disqualification match. But the thing about this match is the bell never rung, so there was really never a match, and there's really like not even anything to really talk about. I guess one of the moments that they had is just like basically soon as the match starts, they both just start like just brawling, like they're throwing blows, they're like pushing each other down. They go to the outside of the ring at one point. Kane gets the steel steps and goes to hit Undertaker with the steel steps. Undertaker dodges it. It bounces off of the ring post and hits him, and it kind of like, you know, like ricochets onto him, I guess you could say. So I guess that was probably like the biggest moment of the match, like, you know, like damage wise, I guess you could say. And the whole night, or the whole match I should say, the Undertaker's just going for Kane's mask, just like he keeps trying to rip it off, and like there was never like a thing where Undertaker said like, I'm gonna take your mask off, or like there was no moment like that. He just kind of randomly starts doing it. And then at one point he like gives him, I believe, a big boot. He falls down, and then he rips the mask off, and you see his face for like a split second, but that's literally it. Like you really don't see his face. They did a good job with the cameras on like still hiding his face. And as soon as he rips the mask off, Kane basically just runs away, pointing at the Undertaker as he's running away. And the Undertaker just holding his mask off to the crowd, and he's like sitting on the top rope, just like kind of holding his mask as like a trophy sort of as he's like running away. And that's pretty much how the match ends right there. He never comes back. Like I said, the bell never rung, so the match literally never started. So like it was a big letdown to me. I mean, it's Kane versus Undertaker, so you would and this is like American Badass Undertaker too. This isn't like Lord of Darkness Undertaker, so he's kind of getting into the new like era of the Undertaker. And his bike is on the outside of the ring. Like, he drives his bike out. I guess I should have mentioned that as well. But he does drive his bike out, and it was just a big letdown. Like, Kane versus Undertaker, you would expect to be like a really cool match. You know, they were a tag team at one point with the Brothers of Destruction. Then they were feuding at other points, and you would just kind of expect it to be more than what it was. It came in at 7 minutes, and it didn't even feel like 7 minutes because literally nothing happened in this match.
Yeah, when I looked at the card for this match, I had seen this match, I was like, oh, Kane and Undertaker in a no DQ match, this should be pretty good. But then I also seen it in a no contest, and I was like, how does that work? Like, how does a no DQ match never, and it was a no contest? It didn't make sense to me. And this was probably one of my favorite like phases of the Undertaker, American Badass. I love the entrance when he rode the bike around the ring. I always thought that was awesome. But yeah, this match was a strange match, and honestly, since like there literally just wasn't anything that really happened in this match that was like notable outside of like when you try to hit him with the steps, I think it was, you said, and it bounces off and hits him. But yeah, besides, I think I'm gonna give honestly like a 1-star match.
Same. Like,
just because there was just nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing to base the match off of. Like, I don't know, it was just really boring. Like when you're reading like the card for the match, and you're like, oh, you know, Eddie and Chyna, Trish and Valvine, it's okay. That's, you know, that's decent. Jerry Lawler and Taz, like, okay, whatever. Steve Blackman and Shane for the Hardcore Championship, okay. Chris Benoit, and then you get to Kane and Undertaker. Like, okay, this is this is one I could buy into, but there was nothing to buy into because the match never started.
Yeah, I think this match was, out of the entire card, this was probably the biggest letdown.
Yeah, I think this is literally the worst match. I'd rather watch X-Pac and Road Dogg than Kane vs. Undertaker.
Yeah, I think this is the worst technical match. Obviously, I don't think we're counting Cat and Terry here, but
yeah, not counting Cat and Terry.
Yeah, out of an actual wrestling match, I think this is definitely one of the worst. It's up for contention on there. And then to close off the night, we have The Rock versus Triple H and Kurt Angle in a triple threat match for the WWF Championship. Now, a little bit of backstory on this match. At first, this was supposed to be Kurt Angle and Triple H had a match for who would be the number one contender versus The Rock at SummerSlam, but they ended up making a tie or something like that, and basically they both get put in the match. And Kurt Angle basically starts falling in love with Stephanie McMahon, I guess you can say. He ends up kissing her on the previous Raw or SmackDown, and that's why this feud basically this is Triple H versus Kurt Angle, and The Rock is just somehow thrown in there just because he's a champion and you need to put him on the card somewhere. But yeah, this match, Kurt Angle comes out first, cuts a short promo saying he isn't sorry for kissing Stephanie McMahon and he wishes he did it sooner. Triple H obviously isn't happy that I don't know if they were married at this point, but they're definitely in a relationship on and off screen. Yeah, Triple H comes out and immediately just starts beating up on him, but since The Rock isn't in the match or hasn't came out yet, the match hasn't technically started yet. But yeah, they just start beating each other up. Triple H at one point throws him out of the ring, goes for a pedigree on top of an announcer saying, about this, I don't understand how it happened, but he goes for a pedigree, but as he jumps up, the table just kind of collapses. So they fall, and instead of landing on the table, then they're breaking, they jump, the table breaks, they fall all the way to the ground. So, and then as that happens, the medical team comes out with a stretcher, gets Kurt Angle. I don't know if that was supposed to happen. I'm assuming not, but Triple H goes for his hammer, and goes to beat up on Kurt Angle more. But The Rock comes out. They go back and forth for a while. Now they bring it to the ring. Triple H basically knocks him down for a little bit, or knocks The Rock down for a little bit. He sees Kurt Angle getting stretchered out, so he runs after Kurt Angle and just starts beating up more while he's on a stretcher. You kind of feel bad because Kurt's just left defenseless. The Rock comes over, starts hurting Triple H a little bit. Triple H goes for a pedigree on the entrance ramp, but Rock sweeps him off his feet and then catapults these metal beams, kind of. I don't know really call them. But then after that, Rock brings Triple H back to the ring. Stephanie comes out, who Triple H was basically ordered her to stay in the locker room, don't come out, just let us have our match and let it be that. But Stephanie comes out, checks on Kurt Angle, and kind of make sure he's okay. She kind of walks him out, but then comes back out. And then as she comes back out, Triple H is kind of what are you doing out here? I told you to stay out. And then she was I'm sorry. And then Triple H tells her to get the belt. And she grabs the belt, but as she goes for it, she just slaps the ring or the timekeeper for just no reason. I don't know why she had to do that. I kind of feel bad for him, but yeah, she grabs it. She grabs the belt, goes into the ring, and then she goes to hit The Rock with the belt as Triple H is holding her, but The Rock kind of ducks down and she hits Triple H, knocks him down. The Rock looks at her. She runs out the ring, and then Rock's in the ring, standing over her, while she's on the outside, and grabs her by the hair. And then The Rock goes to go for a low blow, and then Triple H hits a low blow on The Rock and takes him down. And they kind of a star for a little bit, and then Triple H kind of asks Stephanie to leave the ring and go back. After kind of The Rock and Triple H go back and forth again for a little while, and then as they're both down on the mat, they're like cut to the backstage where Stephanie is kind of like talking to Kurt Angle, trying to beg him to come back to the ring and help Triple H win the belt, and she's just begging him. Kurt's like, "I'll do anything for you, Stephanie," and stuff like that. And then a few seconds later, you see Stephanie like basically like dragging Kurt almost, because he's like wobbling around, because like I said, I don't know if he's like trying to sell like him being hurt, or if he was hurt. I'm sure it was probably a work, just kind of. I can only imagine they wouldn't like force Kurt to go back out there. But yeah, so Rock goes for a pin, but like Kurt Angle like interrupts the pin. Then Triple H hits a pedigree on the Rock, and then everybody's like, "Oh, so Kurt actually got to help him." But then as Triple H goes for the pin on the Rock, Kurt Angle pulls off Triple H and throws him to the steps. And then after that, it then turns into like another like 1v1 between Kurt Angle and the Rock. They go at it for a little bit. Triple H, I think at one point, the Rock hits like a rock bottom, he's a rock bottom onto Kurt Angle, and Triple H like breaks that pin up. The Rock tries to go on Kurt, and then he tells Stephanie to get the sledgehammer. Now she throws the sledgehammer into the middle of the ring. Now as like Kurt Angle's like getting back up, he sees it and he grabs the hammer. Then Stephanie comes in and she's like, "Kurt Angle, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this." And then Triple H comes and goes to like a clothesline on Kurt Angle, but instead hits Stephanie, and she's like, "Oh my god, what did I just do?" And then Kurt Angle hits him with the sledgehammer, knocks him out. Then Rock gets back up, throws Kurt out the ring, and then hits a people's elbow on Triple H, and that's pretty much the end of the match. So the Rock wins the match, but after the Rock leaves the ring, Kurt Angle gets back up and picks Stephanie up. And we closed the pay-per-view with like Kurt Angle carrying carrying Stephanie McMahon to the back locker room with Stephanie in his hands. Now this match was interesting because, like I said, it was a match between Kurt Angle and Triple H, with Rock just to be there because he's the champion. And then also it was never like all three men in the ring at once beating each other up. It was all like, it was the Triple H versus Rock for a bit. Then it was Kurt Angle versus Triple H. Then it was Rock versus Kurt Angle. And, it was never like all three at one time. So that's why it was kind of weird. But yeah, what's your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I mean, just with the whole Stephanie dynamic that like kind of got added with her like getting the belt at one point, getting the hammer at one point, and she gets clothesline. She checks on Kurt instead of Triple H when Triple H, like, she didn't even check on Triple H when he got hit with the hammer. Yeah. So I thought that was, like, kind of weird. And as you said, like, it ends with Kurt carrying her out. And, but overall, the match was really good.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely entertaining.
I'm probably going to give it a 4. Nah, I gave the TLC match a 4 star, so I'm gonna give this a 3 star.
Yeah, that's where.
It was really good though. Like, I did enjoy the match, but the TLC match I enjoyed that much better.
Yeah, I think I'm also giving it a 3 star. Like I said, it was never like all three people. It just felt like Rock was there because, like I said, he was just there because he was the champion. But yeah, I think it would have been better, in my opinion, to have Kurt Angle versus Triple H in their own match, and Rock versus whoever else in their own match, and just take off another match on the card. Like, obviously, I think you could have did without the Cat and Terry match. Definitely, probably even the X-Pac match you could have done without. Right to Censor, you could have subbed it out. So definitely
Kane versus Undertaker.
Yeah, you could have did that, or put Rock versus Kane or Undertaker. But yeah, this was kind of it was a good match, like we said, but it felt a little bit like random in the sense of, like I said, it's a feud between Kurt and Triple H, and Rock, like I said, is just there just to be there. But yeah, I'm giving it 3 stars. And there's only 2 matches on this card that was over 15 minutes. So there's a lot of like quick matches. We had like 2 other matches that were like over 10 minutes, but then 2 matches over 15 minutes. So but at least the 2 15-minute plus minute matches were actually good matches and were actually enjoyable.
Yeah. And I mean, like, overall for the pay-per-view, if I had to give like an overall star rating of the pay-per-view as a whole, I think I would still give it like a 3, maybe 4 star. Just because, like, even though some of the matches weren't very good, like such as like the Cat and Terry, Kane and Undertaker, you know, but even like the Right to Censor versus the Too Cool match, I do feel like that was like it was a pretty good
decent,
match
yeah.
considering all things, you know, like it definitely could have been worse. They had like funny moments in the match. I love Too Cool anyway. They're one of my like favorite like gimmick teams, I guess you could say. I love D-Generation X, so X-Pac vs. Road Dogg was like pretty cool. But yeah, overall I think I'd probably give it like 3-star, I'd say.
Yeah, I would also give it a 3-star. I think the good matches are like the super good high points. Then there's like for example, like the Edge and Christian match. That was like an amazing match. The Rock and Triple H one, it was a good match. Not as good. You also had the Benoit and Chris Jericho match. It was a good technical match, and I enjoyed. Steve Blackman and Shane McMahon was another like entertainment match, kind of similar to the Edge and Christian match. But yeah, I think there's like 4 like really good matches, and then the rest are either like don't even think about watching them. They're like not even worth your time, and then some are like it's all right if you have the extra time to watch them. But yeah, I also give like a 3 stars. Yeah, I overall think this card was super good for its time. But yeah.
And yeah, so if you stuck through the entire video, we appreciate you. Please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and yeah, we'll have more videos soon.
Yeah, and for this, we're also like as a pay-per-view is going on, we'll try to find like if it's like an older pay-per-view type, we'll also try to figure out another old one. So obviously SummerSlam's probably the time this video goes out, it should be tonight. So yeah, when Extreme Rules come around, we'll probably do another Extreme Rules pay-per-view. There's no like Clash of the Castles, a new pay-per-view, so that's gonna be a first time. Probably figure out something new there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Like you said, if you stick this around, we appreciate you. And yeah, later.